Eric Collyer, thanks for chatting with me today.
Yeah.
Who are you? Tell me who Eric Collyer is.
All right, my name's Eric Collyer. I'm part owner of Enroute Personal Training with my wife Cheryl Collyer. You'll see her in the background walking around back there working. We've been personal training. I started back in like 1999, I think, was where I first started training in Annapolis, over on Chinquapin Round Road. And I had my little personal training business. Then 9/11 happened. After 9/11, immediately after that, I was in the recruiting office, joining the Marine Corps. Transitioned my personnel, my client, and my equipment over to what's now called Evolutions, which is the gym on Chinquapin Round Road now. I started Evolutions. That was the name of my personal training business, Excellence Through Evolution. So they kept the name since I was the one that started the business. After that, I was in the Marine Corps for 11 years. I was a Marine Corps sniper, tracking instructor, infantry, a whole bunch of stuff that's not really cool. Didn't do anything fancy, just a regular guy, another Marine, infantryman. After that, I got out, and then I went into the private security sector, defense contracting. I did that as a human behavior, pattern recognition, and analysis expert. Started a program called HBP-RNA. Did that until 2017. Traveled all over the world, Afghanistan, Africa, Middle East, you name it. We were there working insider threat training and human behavior, pattern recognition analysis. After that, my wife got tired of me traveling all the time. So I moved back to the States and started doing some home local security in DC with some federal departments. Traffic in DC got old, so I quit doing that. And then I came back to personal training about 3 years ago. And then we opened this business, Enroute Personal Training, here in Annapolis. You can see the logo there in the background. That's where we got the name. We started out as a mobile training company, drive to people's homes, train them at their homes. So that's where Enroute, whenever the Army was getting their butts handed to them in Afghanistan or Iraq, Marines would always come over the radio and say, "We're en route to your paws to help." So that's kind of why I stuck with that, because we were mobile, so we were going to people's homes. We were en route to help save people. We were so successful that we ended up opening up this brick and mortar, and now we have the facility that you see in front of you here on the video, and you're shooting, moving, and communicating every day, all day long, 10, 12 hours a day, fully booked, so it's been good.
So Enroute, you started in November of 22, that would have been?
The mobile part of it, we actually started in April of 2001, and then the brick and mortar we opened on November 17th of 2002.
Yeah, so you've been here in Annapolis for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
What's the address here?
2030B Industrial Drive, right behind the mall, the Annapolis Mall, over on Bestgate Road.
So what I'll do is, after our chat, I'll give you the opportunity to talk about that a little more, and say your website, where else we can find you.
Yeah.
But obviously qualified in the topic we want to talk about today, particularly for tactical athletes, police officers, as part of the Annapolis Police Department Wellness program. So I want to talk to you today about some of the prevention of the acute injuries that we see of knees and shoulders, particularly police officers as they work in the field. So first off, what are some good, quick, actionable tips you can suggest for officers having a military background? You know what the physical requirements are out here in certain conditions. What are some quick, down and dirty tips that you can give TLDR for the viewers and listeners?
So I think number one thing, for me, learning from training privates all the way up through special operations and all the years I spent in training of Marines and operations groups, is we never get enough rest. We're constantly going. The stress levels are through the roof. Cortisol is through the roof. We have unpredictable hours. So the whole thing of getting 10 to 12 hours of continuous sleep, that might be actionable for a normal human being that works a 9-to-5 job in a bank, but that's not for us. We're always banging overtime, trying to make more money. We're sitting inside of cars, which is terrible for our posture. So we got the forward slumped shoulders, the necks are down, we got the hump thoracic back, and the chest muscles are shortening and the back muscles are lengthening, and your SI joints are all jacked up because you're in a car riding around all day, or you're sitting at a desk writing reports. Posture it's like motion is lotion. The more you move, the better your joints move. Your posture is everything, even down to psychologically the confidence that comes with rolling your shoulders back, lifting your chest up, and keeping your chin up. every time you can. And the thing with that is people say it's laziness. It's not laziness because, I mean, you're sitting, gravity's pulling you down, but you just got to be conscious of it to remind yourself. And the more you remind yourself of it and try to change your posture, just that one simple thing throughout the day of doing some simple exercises that will relieve posture, or taking a lacrosse ball and rolling through your rhomboids and your traps and your neck to try to relieve the stress since you've been sitting at the desk for 14 hours typing. That's one thing, is try to, number one, fix your posture. I mean, that's as soon as people come through the door and they're a new client here, it doesn't matter if they're 5 years old or 93 years old. The first thing I'm going to do is, I don't agree with local and the popular stance on athletics and the Instagram stuff with, you know, influencers and all this crap, like your core is everything, core is everything. Well, first off, we're talking about your stomach muscles being your core. Your core isn't your stomach muscles. Your center of gravity is the core of your body, and that's your glutes and your hips, right? So if that isn't strong, you don't have strong glutes, you don't have strong legs, you don't have strong anything. So core, not necessarily all about your ab muscles. I mean, you need to strengthen your body as a system. So focusing on just one area isn't smart. We got to work on mobility of every joint, right? So posture one, and then number two is your food. Like, your body will not rebuild if you're not eating protein. Like, carbohydrates are not going to rebuild muscle tissue. They're not going to rebuild tendons. Fat is not going to rebuild muscle tissue. It's not going to rebuild tendons, but that's what we want because we're so stressed out at our job. We're not eating enough. We're not hydrated enough. We're not sleeping. The neurons in your stomach are saying, bro, I need protein to live tomorrow. So before you go to bed at night, last thing you get is that salty ice cream, pretzel, brownie, because you're trying to satiate your body's need to have enough calories to survive the next day so you can get out of the cave and go out and find some protein. That's the thing, is you've got to have enough protein in your diet or you're never going to rebuild. Carbohydrates are great for energy, the fats are great for hormonal support and lubricating your joints, but protein is your number one thing. So if you don't do anything else with your diet other than tracking your macros and making sure that you're getting at least at a minimum 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body weight, you're really not rebuilding yourself even in those 3 or 4 hours of sleep that you get at night.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned protein being, yeah, that's the one macronutrient that I always say it's got to be consistent. Mm-hmm. That's the one that has to be consistent. Fat only secondary to protein, and just meeting the minimum requirement of fat mm-hmm. to achieve the hormonal support mm-hmm. and the other benefits throughout the body and all the tissues. And then the carbohydrate, of course, that can fill in the gaps depending on where you want to be. You made that point. Also, just going back to your point in your posture, the one thing we see, and no doubt leads to some injury in the field, is the constant sitting and the shortening and the tightening of the hamstring, mm-hmm. and getting out of a car and this rapid reversal mm-hmm. and a turn. As cops, we jump in and out of the car, and sometimes we go in hot and we got to get out and we got to move quick.
Oh, yeah.
If we've been sitting in that car for 2 or 3 or 4 hours, whether it's leaning over, typing, sitting, driving around, and we got to get out and go to action. All this stuff is just prone and primed for injury. So I went backwards, back up to the nutrition, keeping the protein consistent in your diet. What else?
And with you talking about that, with the sitting all the time, we had the same thing in Marines. We'd be in convoy for the infantry guys riding in the back of a Humvee, and then all of a sudden an IED goes off and you're ambushed. Well, you've been sitting in that Humvee for 8 hours with nothing, completely bored, channel capacity out the window. You're thinking about your mom, you're thinking about your kids, you're thinking about playing Call of Duty when you get home, and then boom, you're at bang. You're not left at bang. You're not being predictive and proactive and thinking about what's happening. Then all of a sudden, all these little psoas muscles and hip flexors and TFLs, all these muscles in your hips have been shortened because you're sitting all the time. Your pelvis is in the wrong area. I mean, it's just mayhem of not correcting. So 5 P's in Marine Corps planning. Prior, proper planning. Hold on. Take 5 P's. Prior, proper planning prevents piss poor performance. So the 5 P's of Marine Corps planning, right? Now you all can laugh, it's 7, but us Marines can't count, so that's the 5 P's.
Cops too, so you could have told us that was 3 to me, but yeah.
But the thing with that is like prior proper planning is making sure that ahead of time you're taking the time. I know all of us don't have Sundays to meal prep, but there are simple snacks and things that you can come up with ahead of time, so that way you can plan and be prepared in the future. So not just with meals, but we train most of the principal dancers from the Ballet Theater of Maryland. We train a bunch of professional wrestlers, college athletes, pro athletes. And the thing with them is warming up properly. And the thing is none of us want to admit it, but we're all aging athletes. When you're in your 30s, you're aging. You're not 20 anymore. It takes our body longer to get prepared and warmed up for the event. So if you were to, in the morning, take 30 minutes and have a routine where you warmed your body up, you warmed your joints up, you prepared your rotator cuffs, you prepared your hips by doing 90-90 drills, and you work on your posture just that little bit in the morning, that will help you prevent from being injured throughout the day because it's getting your nervous system prepared, right? So just having time to do that in the morning, to do some type of warm-up before you roll out. This morning I got 5 minutes. I'm going to warm my hips up. This morning I got 10 minutes. I'm going to break out the bands. I'm going to do all my rotator cuff exercises. But increasing your mobility to get your skeletal structure back in alignment and getting your joints to work in the axes that they're supposed to properly, that they get used to that. When you're out there chasing the bad guy and tackling them after you've been sitting in your car, you're less likely to get injured and rip a rotator cuff or tear a hamstring. And it's a little bit every day. Consistency is key to health, like just a little bit. I'm not going to tell you to go do an hour and a half every day right off the bat because you're not going to do it. But if you were to get a foam roller, which is my miracle device of the planet, I've fixed so many injuries with something as simple as a stupid $14 piece of foam that's 36 inches long and 8 inches around from Amazon Basics that you can get tomorrow.
I think I even got them at Five Below.
Yeah, you can, the little ones, right?
Yeah.
And spend 10 minutes in the morning foam rolling and loosening up your psoas, loosening up your piriformis muscles, loosening up your rotator cuffs. Just that little bit, 5 minutes a day, will make a difference. Not doing it one day a week for an hour and a half, because that's overwhelming. I don't have an hour and a half on Sunday to do this, but you got 5 to 10 minutes every morning to jump on a foam roller and work your quads and learn how to loosen up all around your patella tendons, especially if you got meniscus tears. I mean, so many of us have meniscus tears in our knees or partial ligament tears in our ACLs, jumping out of airplanes and landing and fast roping and rappelling. Our knees are junk. But, I mean, I'm happy to say at my age, like after knee surgeries, at 46, now I can do better leg days than I could when I was 25. I was a catcher in college, martial arts my entire life. But I never did the small things. All I did was come straight into the gym and go to the rack and start lifting. Now that I do a 30-minute warm-up on mobility and stretching and foam rolling, I can get through an entire heavy leg workout that I couldn't have done 15 years ago while I was active duty. So it's kind of like letting the ego go and realize that we are getting older and it takes longer to warm up to get prepared to get throughout the day. And it doesn't matter if you're going out in the backyard and you go gardening. You know what I mean? If you're going to go out and break leaves all day, I tell people, go out there and warm everything up, and you're going to come back and not be injured. So.
Yep, 100%. In fact, I had that same conversation with somebody this morning. I like the phrase you used earlier, motion is lotion. Also, I like to use the term greasing the groove. I've heard that also. Greasing the groove is another one, and it's true, and it works. The exact same conversation, mirrored conversations I had just prior to meeting with you this morning was the challenge of somebody saying, I don't have an hour and a half every single day to work out or to do cardio or to stretch or to do X, Y, or Z. Exactly what you said. It doesn't need to be an hour and a half workout every single day to be prepared for duty as a police officer, where patrol works 12-hour shifts. You're there 15 minutes early. You're usually there 15 minutes on a minimum after. So, your 12-hour day, and then you got to commute, and then you got the dogs, and then you got the kids, and then you got everything else. And it's like, well, shit, just don't do a workout. I just won't work out at all, because if I don't have an hour and a half, I don't. And you and I can tell some stories. Talk about some ego lifting stories. We started lifting together in probably about 94, 3-4-ish. Kent Athletic Club. Talk about some ego lifting, man. We would, and I guess we were young enough and I don't know, injury resistant enough. I don't know how I didn't get injured lifting. Like that. And so, that's kind of what we see. And it's when we're struggling with somebody, when we're grappling with somebody, when we roll with somebody on the ground who's combative and potentially under the influence of some kind of narcotic or drug or PCP or even alcohol, agitated. And then that's then where we see an officer get up, and it's like they've tweaked their knee or they've torn a rotator cuff. I watched a short video that you did not too long ago, kind of griping toward pickleball players, and some of those simple, quick, easy band movements and other movements you can use to loosen up that whole shoulder girdle complex and everything. So what are some of those things then, with some of the real easy either pieces of equipment or even no equipment at all that police officers can do either before, during, or after?
So if you look over here in the background, you can see some girls over here with these bands that we use called TheraBands. They come in a box set. Those are not the physical therapy power bands, or the lifted power bands. They come in like a silver, a black, and a blue. Those bands, I use them, and it brought people back from arms that could move this far from frozen shoulder to now they've got full range of motion just from doing those. So the simplest motions of knowing what the axes are that activate the rotator cuff. Everybody thinks the rotator cuff is one thing. It's not. It's 4 muscles. And all 4 of those muscles work on different angles in relationship to your shoulder joint. So using a motion that hits all of the different muscles in that range of bringing the arm back to the rear with those bands, I'm warming it up. So the funny thing is I've got people that I'm training in their 40s and their 50s right now that are lifting lighter weights than they've ever lifted in their entire life. They're doing less sets than they've ever done, and they're doing less reps, and they're in the best shape they've ever been in their life. They got the lower body fat than they've ever had. They're stronger, they're faster, they're more fit, and they're more healthy than they've ever been doing the traditional 4 sets of 12, 10, 8, 6, 12, and all the big powerlifting movements, the deadlifting and all that stuff. Using the basic exercises, doing metabolic training, doing total body interval training is building amazing athletes. I've got kids in high school that are breaking state records just from doing interval training, and they're strong as hell, and their muscles are growing, putting on 25 pounds, and they're like, well, that's not, you can't grow muscles like that only doing 2 sets. Well, I can prove it to you by looking at all the people that we've trained, and I've trained my entire life, that it is enough. Now, if you want to be a bodybuilder, that's different. But I can tell you, being a bodybuilder ain't gonna help you being a cop, because you ain't gonna get that shotgun in the pocket because it don't fit in there anymore. When that bicep is on that chest, right, you can't shoot anymore, and I can't reach my gun in my holster anymore. So you got to think about range of motion things. As I get older and I lose that range, can I still access my equipment on my duty belt and get to it in an emergency if I had to? So those all things of keeping that mobility. That's the one thing I can stress today is not just classical stretching, cold stretching, the hamstrings like we used to do in Enroute karate back in the day. That don't work. And just being more overall healthy through movement of exercises like those bands. And the other ones we use are Versa bands. You can get them, they're like $5 on Amazon. Come in a set of 4. We use those exercises, opening like this, down low, overhead, going to the wall, doing wall walks, 9 and 10, 10 and 2s, push-up positions. And I've got guys that are 250-pound professional wrestlers with these little tiny bands going through the warm-up. And then I say, all right, now we're going to start the workout. And they're like, that wasn't a workout, bro? My shoulders are so big, I can't even move my arms right now. They're like, well, I don't understand. Why are my shoulders so pumped and feel so good and so warm? And I didn't have to go over and press a 75-pound dumbbell today. It's because if we can build the same amount of muscle without you having to lift that 75-pound dumbbell, that's not going to wear your joints out. And that's a hard pill to swallow, and a lot of people don't want to swallow it, but I'm living proof. I'm lifting half the amount of weight that I used to lift, and I'm 3 times the size I've ever been in my life. So, it's something that you have to let go of, is all of the old school way of lifting, and try to adopt something a little different, because we're trying to be productive in our life, not just an aesthetic or look a certain way, because being a functional athlete and being a tactical athlete is a little different than being a bodybuilder. And there's other things out there too, that's other exercise systems. I'm not going to say the names of them, but where you're doing pull-ups or you're swinging like this and you're jerking weights over your head and stuff like that.
Did you even have to say a name? Yeah, go ahead.
Snatching things over your head. And dude, if you like being injured all the time and you love pain and you want pain to be a part of your life, go ahead and have at it. Jump in there and get in with the deadlifting plan and slam shit all over the gym and throw stuff everywhere. But you're also going to be laid up and you're not going to be working because you've herniated a disc in your back. I can make your back just as strong by never having to deadlift and not doing any exercise that's going to jeopardize your 9 to 5. Cops are a little different. These guys are salaried, but the regular working man on a construction site, if he can't work that afternoon and he has to miss 2 weeks for a herniated disc, he can't put food on the table. So cost-benefit analysis, would you rather be in the gym and deadlift that 400 pounds or be able to work 3 weeks and pay your electric bill? So that's the kind of stuff I think about when I'm talking to people about being rational about the way that they're training for functionality of making them better in life, feel better at their job, and then look better and feel better. So
Absolutely. So I'll touch on the coaching thing in just a sec, but you're absolutely right. It's a hard pill to swallow because the personality, probably much like military, but the personality of cops, particularly young cops, who want to go out there and be go-getters and they want to run and gun, are also that way in the gym. A cop I worked with him for a long time. One of his mottos is 0 to hero, and guess what? He's always injured. Yeah. So, I coach one of the athletes that participates competes as a master in a sport similar to which the style you were describing. And one of those things that he does see is injuries. And so I brought him into a different style of training while still being able to compete and train as he wants to. You brought up the good point about coaching, because as you and I don't know if you were being dishonest, we were born the same year, we're 47 years old. Yeah. Okay.
I turned 47 Friday.
Oh, this coming Friday.
This Friday, like November 29th.
So I guess technically you are still 46 then. All right, I thought I caught you in a little fib there, but no. So as we are aging, and it's important to kind of get this and to understand, much like what you just described. I'm in the best shape of my life, and I've been exercising. I've been a fitness professional for a long time, since the late 90s, like you. And it's that different style of training, and it's coaching. It's a qualified, experienced coach and somebody who has been an athlete, so that's kind of where that comes into play. So, Eric, where can we find you, whether it's online, phone, physically? You said your location earlier. Where can we find you to contact you for more info?
So we have a website. It's enroutepersonaltraining.com that you can go to, which has a message link on it. So if you ever want to come over here and set up a visit, meet with me or Sherry, my wife, for consultation, or just stop by and see the place, you can just hit messages and it goes straight to our email. We have Instagram, we have Facebook. We're on both of those. It's CLC Fitness is one of them. And it's just Enroute Personal Training on Facebook. We do have YouTube videos out there too, so if you go on YouTube and you search Enroute Personal Training, we have free videos that are on there you can subscribe to. You don't have to pay for it. There's 2 different 1-hour recovery and mobility videos that I walk you through and take you through the entire recovery and mobility programs. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, you can kind of get a feel for what we do on those. There's a couple total body interval workouts in there also, and then there's a library of exercises on how to perform the basic warm-up exercise that we do that you can follow in little 60-second clips. So Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, we're on all those. My phone number, you can call me on my personal cell, 760-583-0115. And that's it. And our email is enroutepersonaltraining@gmail.com.
Awesome. And so I'll attach a link to your YouTube in the description of this as well. So Eric Collyer, thanks for chatting with me.
Yes, sir.
Good info. All right. We'll see you next time then.
All right, man.
Okay.